When therapy dog Luna suddenly abandoned her rounds and started clawing frantically at a basement wall in St. Mary's Children's Hospital, Dr. Sarah Chen thought the golden retriever had finally lost her mind. But Luna hadn't worked pediatric wards for 6 years without reason. She could sense things that medical equipment couldn't detect, and what she was trying to uncover beneath that hospital wall would expose a decades-old medical conspiracy that had been hiding in plain sight, threatening the lives of hundreds of sick children. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead in the pediatric wing of St. Mary's Children's Hospital, casting their sterile glow across polished linoleum floors. It was Tuesday morning, and the hallways buzzed with the familiar symphony of a working hospital, beeping monitors, hushed conversations between nurses, and the occasional giggle from the playroom down the hall. Dr. Sarah Chen walked alongside Luna, a 6-year-old golden retriever whose gentle presence had become legendary in the hospital's pediatric ward. Luna wasn't just any therapy dog. She was a former search and rescue canine who had transitioned to medical therapy work after suffering a career-ending injury during a mountain rescue operation in Colorado. The injury had ended Luna's search and rescue career, but it hadn't diminished her extraordinary abilities. If anything, her forced retirement had revealed new talents. Luna seemed to possess an uncanny ability to sense when children were struggling emotionally, often appearing at bedsides before nurses even realized a patient was in distress. Dr. Chen, a pediatric oncologist in her early 40s, had been Luna's primary handler for 3 years. Together they made their rounds every Tuesday and Thursday, visiting young patients who were battling cancer, recovering from surgery, or dealing with chronic illnesses that kept them hospitalized for weeks at a time. "Good morning, sweetie," Dr. Chen said softly as they entered room 314, where 8-year-old Marcus Williams was recovering from his second round of chemotherapy. The boy's face lit up when he saw Luna approach his bed. "Luna," Marcus whispered, his voice weak but excited. The golden retriever gently placed her head on the edge of his bed, allowing him to run his small fingers through her thick coat. This was why Dr. Chen loved their Tuesday rounds. Luna had a way of bringing light into the darkest corners of the pediatric ward, offering comfort that medical training couldn't provide. But the truly shocking thing is, as they moved through their routine visits, Dr. Chen began to notice subtle changes in Luna's behavior. The dog seemed distracted, occasionally pausing in hallways to sniff the air, or turning her head towards sounds that no one else could hear. By their 4th visit of the morning, Luna's restlessness had become more pronounced. Instead of settling beside 9-year-old Emma Patterson's wheelchair as she normally did, Luna paced the room, her nose working overtime as she tracked some invisible scent. "Is she okay?" Emma asked, watching Luna with concern. "I think she's just having an off day," Dr. Chen replied, though she was beginning to feel uneasy. In 3 years of working together, she had never seen Luna this agitated during their rounds. The turning point came when they reached the end of the pediatric wing. Instead of heading toward the elevator for their usual route to the next floor, Luna stopped dead in her tracks. Her ears perked forward, and she tilted her head as if listening to something only she could hear. Then, without warning, Luna bolted. It was at this exact moment that everything changed, because Luna didn't run toward the patient rooms or the nurse's station. She headed straight for the rarely used stairwell that led to the hospital's basement levels. "Luna, wait," Dr. Chen called, hurrying after the dog. She had never seen Luna abandon her therapy duties, and the golden retriever's sudden urgency sent a chill down her spine. Luna reached the stairwell door and began pawing at it frantically, whining in a way that Dr. Chen had never heard before. It wasn't the gentle whimper Luna sometimes made when comforting a crying child. This was urgent, desperate, almost panicked. Dr. Chen opened the stairwell door, expecting Luna to calm down once she realized there was nothing interesting beyond. Instead, the dog immediately began descending the concrete steps, her nails clicking rapidly against the surfaces as she moved with purpose. "Luna, we don't go down there," Dr. Chen said firmly. The basement levels were restricted to maintenance staff and contained nothing but storage rooms, utility equipment, and the hospital's aging infrastructure. But Luna ignored her completely. The dog reached the basement level and began sniffing along the walls, moving systematically, as if she were conducting a search operation. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet, because Luna's behavior had attracted the attention of Jake Morrison, the hospital's head of maintenance, who was replacing a burned-out light fixture in the basement corridor. "Doc, is everything all right?" Jake asked, setting down his tools as he watched Luna's frantic searching. "I'm not sure," Dr. Chen admitted. "She's never acted like this before." "Luna, come here, girl." Luna briefly acknowledged Dr. Chen's call, but immediately returned to her systematic search of the basement walls. She moved past storage rooms, utility closets, and mechanical equipment, her nose working constantly. Then she stopped. Luna positioned herself in front of a section of wall that looked identical to every other section in the basement corridor. The wall was painted institutional white, unmarked except for some scuff marks near the floor where equipment had been moved against it over the years. The golden retriever began to dig at the base of the wall, her claws scraping against the concrete floor as she tried to get underneath what appeared to be solid barrier. "Whoa, girl, stop that," Jake said, moving toward Luna, but the dog's digging became more frantic, more desperate. Dr. Chen knelt beside Luna, studying the dog's behavior. In her years of working with Luna, she had learned to trust the dog's instincts, but this was unlike anything she had ever seen. "Jake," she said slowly, "how long has this wall been here?" Jake scratched his head, studying the section Luna was focused on. "You know, that's a good question. I've been working here for 12 years, and I always just assumed, but now that you mention it, this section looks different from the rest." "Wait a second. Don't miss this detail," because as Jake examined the wall more closely, he noticed that the paint color didn't quite match the surrounding areas. It was subtle, but once you knew to look for it, the difference was obvious. "This has been repainted more recently than the rest of the basement," Jake observed. "And look here." He pointed to the edges where the wall met the floor and ceiling. "These joints are newer. This isn't original construction." Dr. Chen felt her stomach tighten. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying somebody walled off this section, probably sometime in the last decade or so. Question is, why?" Luna's digging had intensified, and she was now whining continuously, a sound that seemed to echo off the basement walls and create an almost haunting atmosphere. Dr. Chen pulled out her phone and called hospital administration. "I'm in the basement level, and I think we might have a situation that requires investigation." Within 2 hours, the basement corridor had been transformed into something resembling a crime scene. Hospital administrators, facilities managers, and architectural consultants gathered around the section of wall that had captured Luna's attention. Luna herself had been reluctantly moved to a safe distance, but she maintained constant visual contact with the wall, occasionally letting out small whimpers that seemed to echo through the basement spaces. Margaret Foster, the hospital's chief administrator, studied the blueprints that had been hastily retrieved from the archives. "According to these plans from 1987, there should be a storage room behind this wall," she announced to the group. "But there's no door," observed David Park, the head of facilities management, "and I've never seen any records of this room being sealed off." Dr. Chen watched Luna's behavior carefully. The dog remained focused on the wall with an intensity that reminded her of Luna's search and rescue days. "Luna's trained to find people," she told the group. "Her behavior suggests she's detecting human presence, but that's impossible if it's just a sealed storage room." But the truly shocking thing is, when they brought in industrial stethoscopes typically used for checking building integrity, they could hear sounds coming from behind the wall, faint, rhythmic sounds that didn't match any mechanical equipment patterns. Jake Morrison, who had been listening intently, went pale. "That almost sounds like breathing apparatus, like ventilators or oxygen machines." The decision was made to breach the wall, but it had to be done carefully. If there were people behind the barrier, any structural damage could be dangerous. A specialized construction team was called in to create a small opening that would allow visual inspection of whatever lay beyond. Dr. Chen stayed with Luna throughout the afternoon, watching as the dog maintained her vigil. Every few minutes, Luna would approach the wall, sniff carefully, and then return to her sitting position, as if she were monitoring a situation that required constant attention. "She knows something we don't," Dr. Chen murmured to Jake, who had become equally invested in solving the mystery. The breakthrough came at 4:17 p.m. when the construction team's drill bit broke through the wall and encountered open space on the other side. Immediately, a rush of air flowed through the small hole, carrying with it a smell that made everyone in the basement step back. It was the unmistakable odor of medical antiseptic mixed with something else, something organic and concerning, that suggested long-term human occupation. It was at this exact moment that everything changed, because when they inserted a fiber optic camera through the hole, What they saw on the monitor screen defied all explanation. It was a fully functioning medical facility, complete with hospital beds, monitoring equipment, IV stands, and what appeared to be life support systems, and the beds weren't empty. The decision to fully breach the wall was made by Chief Administrator Foster after consultation with hospital legal counsel and local law enforcement. By 6 p.m., Detective Lisa Moreau from the City Police Department had arrived on scene, along with representatives from the State Health Department. Luna had been given a break from her vigil, but she remained in the basement area, clearly unwilling to leave until whatever she had detected was resolved. Dr. Chen stayed with her, both of them watching as workers carefully enlarged the opening in the wall. When the hole was finally large enough for human entry, Detective Moreau was the first to step through, followed by Dr. Chen and a hospital security officer. The space beyond the wall was larger than the blueprints had indicated, approximately 30 by 40 feet, with a ceiling height that matched the rest of the basement level. But what dominated the room were the 12 hospital beds arranged in 2 rows, each connected to monitoring equipment and life support systems. 8 of the beds were occupied. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet, because the patients in the beds weren't adults, and they weren't typical medical cases. They were children, ranging in age from approximately 6 to 14, all unconscious and connected to various forms of life support. Dr. Chen approached the nearest bed, her medical training overriding her shock. The patient was a girl of about 10 years old, pale and thin, with IV lines running into both arms and a ventilator assisting her breathing. "These children are alive," Dr. Chen announced, "but they're in medically induced comas." Detective Moreau was documenting everything with her camera while speaking into her radio. "I need medical emergency response teams down here immediately. We have 8 pediatric patients in critical condition." Each bed had a medical chart hanging from the footrail, but the information contained in the charts was unlike anything Dr. Chen had seen in her 15 years of medical practice. Instead of names, the patients were identified by numbers. Instead of normal medical histories, the charts contained detailed logs of experimental procedures and drug trials. "Patient 7B, Dr. Chen read from one chart. Day 847 of Protocol Theta. Neurological response to compound XJ471, showing minimal degradation. Continue current dosage." The implications were staggering. These children had been kept unconscious and used as test subjects for experimental medical procedures for over 2 years. Wait a second, don't miss this detail. Because as Dr. Chen examined more charts, she discovered that the children were being used to test drugs and procedures that were years away from FDA approval for human trials. Detective Moreau found what appeared to be a control station at the far end of the room. Computer monitors displayed vital signs for each patient, while locked cabinets contained vials of experimental drugs labeled with codes rather than names. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," Detective Moreau called from the control station. A logbook lay open on the desk, filled with handwritten entries documenting the progress of various protocols. The entries were signed with initials rather than full names, but the dates went back over 3 years. Most disturbing were the acquisition notes, clinical descriptions of how each child had been recruited for the program. Missing children reported as runaways, kids from foster care systems who had been transferred between facilities, children from families with no legal documentation. Dr. Chen felt sick as she read entry after entry describing how vulnerable children had been systematically collected and brought to this hidden facility for use in illegal medical experimentation. "We need to get these children to the ICU immediately," Dr. Chen told Detective Moreau. "I don't know what they've been subjected to, but they're going to need intensive care to safely bring them out of these induced comas." The evacuation of the hidden medical facility took 4 hours. Each child required careful monitoring as they were moved to the hospital's legitimate pediatric intensive care unit. Some had been unconscious for so long that their muscles had atrophied significantly. Others showed signs of neurological damage from the experimental procedures they had endured. What you've seen so far is nothing, because as the investigation deepened, Detective Moreau discovered that the hidden facility had been operating with the knowledge and participation of multiple hospital staff members, including 2 senior physicians and the head of pharmaceutical research. The investigation into the hidden medical facility grew rapidly beyond the hospital's walls. By the next morning, federal agents from the FBI's Medical Crimes Unit had taken over the case, working alongside state prosecutors and medical ethics investigators. Dr. Chen found herself at the center of the investigation, not as a suspect, but as the primary witness whose therapy dog had uncovered what appeared to be one of the largest illegal medical experimentation scandals in recent history. Luna, meanwhile, had become something of a celebrity within the hospital. Staff members who had previously seen her as just another therapy dog now understood that her abilities went far beyond providing comfort to sick children. She saved their lives, Dr. Chen told FBI agent Rachel Torres during one of many interviews. Those children could have remained hidden for years if Luna hadn't detected them. The FBI's investigation revealed the scope of the conspiracy. Dr. Marcus Webb, the hospital's former chief of pharmaceutical research, had established the hidden facility in 2019 as a way to accelerate drug development by bypassing normal ethical review processes and FDA regulations. Working with Dr. Elizabeth Kane, a pediatric anesthesiologist, and several other staff members, Webb had created a systematic process for acquiring test subjects from vulnerable populations and conducting experimental procedures without consent or oversight. But the truly shocking thing is, the illegal experimentation had been funded by 3 major pharmaceutical companies who were aware they were paying for human trials that would never be approved through legitimate channels. The financial records seized from the hidden facility showed payments totaling over $12 million from companies desperate to fast-track drug development for pediatric applications. The children had been treated not as patients, but as lab rats in a profit-driven scheme that violated every principle of medical ethics. Dr. Chen spent hours with each of the rescued children as they were slowly brought out of their medically induced comas. The recovery process was complicated by the fact that many had been unconscious for so long that their bodies had forgotten basic functions. "Hi there," Dr. Chen said softly to the first child to regain consciousness. The 10-year-old girl Luna had found. "My name is Dr. Chen. You're safe now." The girl's eyes were unfocused, and she couldn't speak due to muscle weakness. But she was alive and appeared to understand that her situation had changed. Over the following days, as more children regained consciousness, the true horror of their situation became clear. Many had vague memories of being taken from their homes or shelters, but the drugs used to maintain their unconscious state had severely impacted their ability to remember specific details. It was at this exact moment that everything changed, because the children's testimonies, combined with the documentation found in the hidden facility, provided prosecutors with evidence for charges that could result in life sentences for those involved. Dr. Webb was arrested at his home on a Saturday morning, along with 4 other hospital staff members. Dr. Kane attempted to flee the country, but was apprehended at the airport before her flight to Switzerland could depart. The pharmaceutical companies involved initially denied knowledge of the illegal experimentation, but email records and financial transactions proved their active participation in funding the hidden facility. The process of helping the 8 rescued children recover from their ordeal became Dr. Chen's primary focus over the following months. Each child faced unique challenges based on how long they had been unconscious and what experimental procedures they had endured. Luna played a crucial role in the recovery process. Her gentle presence seemed to comfort the children in ways that medical interventions couldn't match. She spent hours each day in the pediatric ICU, moving from bed to bed as if she were making up for lost time. "She knows what she did," Dr. Chen observed to Agent Torres during one of their follow-up meetings. "Luna seems to understand that she saved these children, and now she's determined to help them heal." The oldest of the rescued children, 14-year-old David Martinez, had been missing from his foster home in Phoenix for over 2 years. His case had gone cold when police were unable to find any leads about his disappearance. "I remember some of it," David told Dr. Chen during one of their therapy sessions. "The man in the white coat said I was going to help sick kids by testing new medicine. But then I went to sleep, and when I woke up here, it was like no time had passed at all." The youngest victim, 6-year-old Amy Chen, no relation to Dr. Chen, had been taken from a homeless shelter in Detroit. Her mother had been told that Amy was being transferred to a specialized facility for children with developmental delays, but no such transfer had ever been officially documented. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet, because the investigation revealed that the hidden facility was just one of several similar operations being run by the conspiracy. FBI raids in 3 other states uncovered additional hidden medical facilities, resulting in the rescue of 26 more children. The scope of the illegal experimentation network was staggering. Over a period of 5 years, the conspiracy had abducted and experimented on more than 50 children, using them to test drugs for everything from cancer treatment to neurological disorders. Dr. Chen testified at multiple trials, explaining how Luna's detection of the hidden facility had exposed the entire network. Her testimony helped prosecutors secure convictions for 15 individuals involved in the conspiracy, including life sentences for Dr. Webb and Dr. Kane. The pharmaceutical companies involved faced massive fines and criminal charges, with several executives receiving prison sentences for their role in funding illegal human experimentation. 2 years after Luna's discovery of the hidden facility, St. Mary's Children's Hospital had been completely transformed. New policies, oversight committees, and security measures ensured that nothing like the illegal experimentation could ever happen again. Luna continued her therapy work, but her role had expanded beyond simply comforting patients. She had been trained to conduct security sweeps of the hospital's lesser-used areas, ensuring that no unauthorized activities were taking place in forgotten corners of the building. Chen had established the Luna Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to training therapy dogs for medical fraud detection. The foundation worked with hospitals across the country to implement programs that use dogs' extraordinary senses to identify unusual activities or hidden dangers. Luna showed us that our four-legged partners can detect things that our technology and training miss, Dr. Chen explained during a conference on medical ethics. Dogs don't lie, they don't have hidden agendas, and they respond to situations based purely on what they sense is wrong. The 8 children rescued from the hidden facility had each found different paths to recovery. Some had been reunited with families who had never stopped searching for them. Others had been placed in specialized care facilities where they could receive ongoing medical support. David Martinez had been reunited with his biological aunt in Arizona and was slowly rebuilding his life with the help of trauma counselors and educational support. Amy Chen had been adopted by a family in Michigan who specialized in caring for children with special needs. But the truly shocking thing is, several of the rescued children had expressed interest in pursuing careers in medicine or law enforcement, inspired by the people who had saved them and determined to prevent similar crimes from happening to other children. Luna's story had spread far beyond St. Mary's Hospital. News media coverage of her discovery had inspired similar programs at hospitals and research facilities around the world. The Luna Protocol had become a standard security measure at many medical institutions. Dr. Chen often reflected on the chain of events that had led to the discovery. If Luna hadn't felt compelled to investigate the basement wall, if she had ignored her instincts and continued with their normal therapy rounds, those 8 children might have remained hidden indefinitely. What you've seen so far is nothing, because Luna's legacy extended beyond the specific children she had saved. Her story had raised awareness about the vulnerability of missing children and the importance of maintaining ethical oversight in medical research. The Luna Foundation had trained over 200 therapy dogs in medical facility security protocols. These dogs had been responsible for detecting unauthorized activities at 17 different facilities, preventing potential crimes, and ensuring the safety of patients. The trials of those involved in the illegal medical experimentation conspiracy took place over 18 months in federal courts across multiple jurisdictions. The evidence collected from the hidden facility, combined with testimony from rescued children and hospital staff, painted a picture of systematic child abuse disguised as medical research. These children were helping to advance medical science, he testified in his own defense. The research we conducted will eventually save thousands of lives. His callous attitude toward the children he had tortured for years only strengthened the prosecution's case. Dr. Chen's testimony about Luna's discovery was particularly powerful, demonstrating how the conspiracy had hidden their crimes so effectively that only a dog's extraordinary senses could detect them. Luna saved 8 children from continued torture and possibly death, Dr. Chen told the jury. She detected human suffering that our medical equipment, our security systems, and our administrative oversight had all failed to find. The jury deliberated for less than 6 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all charges against Dr. Webb. He was sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole, along with additional sentences for conspiracy, kidnapping, and child abuse. Elizabeth Kane received a similar sentence, despite her defense team's attempts to portray her as a reluctant participant who had been coerced by Dr. Webb. The evidence showed that Kane had been instrumental in developing the protocols for keeping children unconscious for extended periods. Wait a second, don't miss this detail. The pharmaceutical companies involved faced the largest fines in FDA history, totaling over $2.8 billion. The money was used to establish a victim compensation fund and to create new oversight mechanisms for medical research. The trials also resulted in significant changes to federal law governing medical research facilities. The Luna Act, signed into law by the President, required all medical research facilities to implement animal-assisted security protocols and mandated regular inspections by independent oversight committees. Luna attended several of the trial proceedings, serving as an emotional support animal for the rescued children who testified about their experiences. Her presence seemed to give them strength to face their former captors and tell their stories. During the sentencing phase of Dr. Webb's trial, 14-year-old David Martinez chose to address the court directly. "You stole years of my life," David told Dr. Webb, his voice steady despite visible emotion. "You made me a prisoner in my own body, and you used me like I wasn't even human. But you couldn't steal my hope, and you couldn't stop a dog from caring enough to find us." Luna's story resonated far beyond the United States, inspiring international efforts to prevent similar crimes and protect vulnerable children from exploitation by unethical medical researchers. The World Health Organization adopted Luna Protocol as a recommended security measure for medical research facilities worldwide. Countries across Europe, Asia, and South America began implementing programs that used trained dogs to detect unauthorized medical activities. Dr. Chen was invited to speak at medical conferences on 6 continents, sharing Luna's story and advocating for stronger protections for research subjects. The Luna Foundation's training programs were expanded internationally, with facilities established in Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Japan. Luna showed us that sometimes the most important medical discoveries come not from laboratories or textbooks, but from trusting the instincts of creatures who see the world differently than we do. The rescued children became advocates for missing children and medical research oversight. Several of them worked with the Luna Foundation to train new therapy dogs, sharing their experiences with handlers and helping dogs learn to recognize signs of human distress. You won't believe it, but 5 years after Luna's discovery, similar hidden facilities were uncovered in 7 other countries, leading to the rescue of over 100 children worldwide. Each discovery was credited to Luna-trained dogs who had detected signs of unauthorized medical activities. The pharmaceutical industry underwent significant reforms as a result of the Luna case. New regulations required comprehensive documentation of all research funding, independent oversight of experimental protocols, and mandatory reporting of any research conducted outside traditional academic or hospital settings. Dr. Chen received numerous awards for her role in exposing the conspiracy, but she consistently credited Luna with the discovery. "I was just following my dog," she would say in interviews. "Luna is the hero who saved those children." Luna passed away peacefully on a spring morning in 2029, surrounded by Dr. Chen and several of the children she had saved. She was 11 years old and had spent her final years continuing her therapy work while training the next generation of medical detection dogs. The funeral was attended by over 3,000 people, including the 8 children from the hidden facility, now young adults building new lives. FBI agents, hospital staff, and medical researchers from around the world came to pay their respects to a dog who had changed the field of medical ethics. "Luna taught us that heroes come in many forms," Dr. Chen said during the memorial service. "Sometimes they wear white coats, sometimes they carry badges, and sometimes they have 4 legs and a heart that refuses to ignore suffering." The children Luna had saved each spoke at the memorial, sharing how her discovery had given them the chance to grow up, pursue education, and build families of their own. David Martinez, now 20 and studying pre-med, had been inspired by Dr. Chen and Luna to pursue a career in pediatric medicine. "I want to spend my life protecting children the way Luna protected us," he said. "She showed me that healing isn't just about medicine, it's about caring enough to notice when something is wrong." Amy Chen had been adopted by Dr. Chen and had grown up understanding the special bond between humans and animals. She was studying veterinary medicine with plans to specialize in therapy animal training. It was at this exact moment that everything changed, because Luna's death wasn't an ending, but the beginning of a new era in medical oversight and child protection. The Luna Memorial Foundation, established with donations from around the world, had grown into an international organization with facilities in 37 countries. Over 1,500 dogs had been trained in Luna's methods, and they had been responsible for preventing dozens of potential crimes against children. The success stories continued to mount. In Brazil, a Luna-trained dog had detected a hidden laboratory where children were being used to test experimental vaccines. In Thailand, dogs had uncovered a facility where missing children were being subjected to surgical experiments. In Romania, canine detection had led to the discovery of a network selling children to research facilities across Eastern Europe. Mary's Children's Hospital, her impact continues to protect children around the world. The hidden medical facility has been converted into a training center for medical detection dogs, where Luna's techniques are taught to new generations of canine heroes. Dr. Chen, now retired from active medical practice, serves as the director of the Luna Memorial Foundation. She begins each day with a visit to Luna's memorial statue in the hospital's garden, where children still come to leave flowers and say thank you to the dog who saved so many lives. The 8 children Luna rescued have all grown into adults who work in fields dedicated to protecting others. Their collective efforts have resulted in stronger laws, better oversight of medical research, and programs that have prevented countless crimes against vulnerable children. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet, because Luna's story has inspired a fundamental change in how society views the relationship between humans and animals in protecting the innocent. Medical schools now include courses on animal-assisted detection and the importance of trusting canine instincts in identifying potentially harmful situations. Research facilities worldwide have implemented Luna protocols that require regular canine security sweeps. The pharmaceutical industry has embraced ethical research practices, partly due to the massive legal and financial consequences suffered by companies involved in the original conspiracy. The Luna case serves as a constant reminder that cutting corners in medical research can result in criminal liability and public disgrace. Most importantly, children around the world sleep safer knowing that dogs like Luna are watching over them, trained to detect danger and alert humans when something is wrong. Wait a second, don't miss this detail. The original basement where Luna made her discovery has been preserved as part of the memorial. Visitors can see the wall she clawed at, now marked with a bronze plaque that reads, "Sometimes the greatest medical breakthroughs come not from laboratories, but from the courage to investigate when something doesn't feel right." New therapy dogs in training are brought to the memorial site as part of their education, learning about Luna's legacy and understanding the importance of trusting their instincts when they sense something wrong. Dr. Krun often tells new handlers, "Luna taught us that healing isn't just about treating illness, it's about protecting the innocent and speaking up for those who can't speak for themselves. What you've seen so far is nothing, because Luna's legacy has evolved beyond individual rescues to create a global network of protection for vulnerable children." Her story reminds us that sometimes the most important discoveries are made not by following protocols, but by following our instincts and trusting those who see the world differently than we do. Today, children in hospitals around the world are visited by therapy dogs trained in Luna's methods. These dogs provide comfort and healing, but they also serve as guardians, watching for signs that something might be wrong, and alerting their handlers when their extraordinary senses detect danger. Every Tuesday morning, therapy dogs around the world begin their rounds in pediatric hospitals, following in Luna's footsteps. They bring comfort to sick children, support to worried families, and hope to those who need it most. But they also serve as sentinels, using their remarkable abilities to ensure that no child suffers in silence, that no corner of a medical facility remains unsupervised, and that the horrors Luna uncovered can never happen again. In examining rooms and hospital corridors, in research facilities and care centers, these four-legged guardians continue Luna's mission. They remind us that healing comes not just from medicine and technology, but from the courage to investigate when something feels wrong, and the wisdom to trust those who communicate without words. Thank you for following Luna's journey from therapy dog to hero, from comfort provider to lifesaver. This story reminds us that courage comes in many forms, and sometimes the most important medical advances come from simply caring enough to notice when something isn't right. We want to hear from you. Have you ever had a pet or therapy animal detect something unusual? Do you think hospitals and medical facilities should use trained dogs for security purposes? What role do you think animals should play in protecting vulnerable patients? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If Luna's story moved you, please share this video with someone who believes in the power of trusting animal instincts and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories of animal heroes who save lives through courage, loyalty, and love. Remember, sometimes the most important discoveries are made not by following procedure, but by following our hearts and trusting those who see the world through different eyes. Be brave enough to investigate when something feels wrong. Be like Luna, refuse to ignore suffering, even when it's hidden from view. Sometimes saving lives begins with simply caring enough to dig deeper when everyone else walks away.